everyone. In this video, I will show you how can you query your OpenAI embeddings, which we have already saved in the previous video. So if you don't know how to save it, I would recommend you to go ahead and check it. In this video, the one thing which I am doing differently is rather than inserting, we will be using upsert. So in case if there are already embeddings present for the same text, then we will just go ahead and overwrite it. In this way, we will not create any duplicate values. So without any further delay, let's quickly get started. Okay. So what we are doing here is I have taken bunch of text files here. You can see on the left hand side under the stores directory, I'm having 4 text files. So each will have certain text, and we will be analyzing this file, and then we will ask ChatGPT to answer a few questions for us. Now, we will not be directly feeding this and all the text to ChatGPT. Rather, we will be using embeddings here, which are already saved in Pinecone. So if you are not sure how we are doing it, I will quickly walk you through it. And in this entire process, we will not be writing every single piece of code. I have grabbed few snippets from OpenAI Cookbook as well as few snippets from Pinecone documentation. So we directly plug in here and we'll tweak it a bit. So that's what we are going to do here. So let's get started. So the first thing we need, what we are doing here is we will be reading this text file and pushing it into a data frame. So let's go ahead and do that. So I'm going to import the required packages first, and the first one is pandas because we are going to use the data frames here. And then we need to use tick token because we want to calculate the number of tokens which are associated with given text. And then I'm going to say import OpenAI. Okay, let's quickly execute this. Okay, next thing I'm going to use tick token underscore encoding, and here we will use GPT-2. So get encoding and let's say GPT-2. So this is the embedding we are using. Then we need to read all the text files which are placed under the stores directory, store directory. So for that, I'm saying file in os.listdir, and in this we need to pass in our file name. So it is under test, then store. Let me rectify this. Okay. Colon. So here we will be reading the text, and I can write open. Let's use F string because we need to concatenate the file name. We need to frame the complete path. So I will be saying C colon test store. Inside store we have the files. So here I will put curly brace and use the file variable which we just constructed above, and all this will be in read mode. So let's put R. Okay, and now we can easily read the file content using f.read. Okay, now we have the file content, we need the tokens. So whatever the data frame we are constructing, there we need few columns. So the first column we can say the file name from which you are expecting the text. So one column we will have for the text which is inside that text file. Then we will have a column which will tell you how many tokens each of these rows or text are consisting of. Then we will have a column to hold embeddings, and one column we need for ID so that Pinecone can deal with the search efficiently. So let's go ahead and first collect the number of tokens here. So we will say tick token dot encode, tick token dot encoding dot encode, encoding dot encode. Oops. And inside that we need to pass the file content. So for this content we will be getting number of tokens. So let's say total tokens we need now. Here it is nothing but the length. Okay, so once this is done, we will append these results in some list. So for that, I'm going to create a list contents. So it would be easy for us to append the things. Append, oops. And inside append we need to give file, and then we will provide file content, and then we will say total tokens. Okay, so this is like a one entry in our list. So once this is done, now we need to construct the data frame out of it. So for that we'll say df, which is for data frame, and say pandas dot data frame. Inside that, first we will be passing the content which we just grabbed, and then we will just label those columns. I would say as the first column I will say is the file name, then we can say file content and just name it as tokens. So these are the three things which I am just assigning some column. Okay, so what I did wrong. Okay, so once this is done, now we will go ahead and add another column, embeddings. So df embeddings, you can name it anything, vectors, embeddings, whatever you want. So embeddings, and how we will be calculating is df dot file content, because we want to calculate embeddings only for the text which are written in the file. So we will say file content dot apply, because we want to apply for every single value which is in our data frame. And let's go ahead and quickly use lambda, and we'll see. So this is the thing which we have already done in previous video, so I'm not talking more about these. And we'll say input equal to, you can say x, and engine. So this is the embedding engine which we are going to use. So let's call it let's use text embedding ADA 002. You can use any, if whatever you want. Embedding ADA 002. So this is what we have, and then we need to say data. So this is the construct. Why I'm doing data, then the first element and the embedding, because this is how you will get the output of this OpenAI embedding create function. And if you don't know the syntax, it is clearly written on the documentation, so you can definitely go ahead and check that out. So you will get to know the exact hierarchy, what is residing under which element. Okay, now we got the embedding column. The only thing which we need is some UID column or some ID column on which Pinecone can index and search vectors. So for that I will probably put it here. We will generate some random UID using UUID4, and here we will say df, and let's name this new column as ID. So these are the simple Python code which you can write by your own, or in fact you can grab it from anywhere. That's not a big deal in this. So, and we want to do it for entire column, all the rows we want to do. So that's why we are saying for loop, and I think we are done. So at this stage, if you want, you can retain this data. You can save it to CSV file. Just name some file. So just give some file name. My embeddings.csv. So it is not required, but if you want, you can definitely go ahead and save this data. And here I can show you what we have. So let's quickly run it. Oops, so probably we left some mistake. Encoding, tick token, encoding, encode. So there. So it should be this variable here, because this is what is holding our encoding. Hope this time it works. So here you can see that initially we were having just 4 text files, and now we are having a data frame which is holding the text file name, its related content, embeddings, and the respective ID. So this is how we can generate a data frame out of it. Now with this data frame, what we are going to do is we need to extract the embedding and then push it into the Pinecone. So for that, let me go ahead and import few more things. So first thing we need is Langchain dot vector stores import Pinecone, and one more thing we need here is for OpenAI embeddings. So we'll say Langchain dot embeddings dot OpenAI import OpenAI embeddings. I will go ahead and import Pinecone as well, and then I need a configuration because this is where I'm having my OpenAI key. So once these initial things are imported, we can go ahead and define our embedding model as well. So embedding model, I'm taking text embedding ADA, but you can take the one of your choice. Embedding ADA 002. And another thing we need is the embedding object. I will use the one which I have created some time back. So embeddings, which will call OpenAI embeddings, and it will take few parameters like OpenAI API key. This I can grab it from my configuration. Okay, so let's run this thing. We have our initial setup ready. Next thing is we need to deal with the Pinecone. So for Pinecone, you can go to pinecone.io and create the index there and then start working on this part what I am doing. And if you don't want to do that, we can do it directly here itself the way I am doing. So here we need to initialize the Pinecone database, and the first thing it expects is the API key. So you can grab the API key from Pinecone, and if you don't know, just check out my previous video. And then I will say environment equals, for me it is US Central 1 minus GCP. So this thing is done, and then we need to set the name of the index. So we can say index name, cause I am taking name based on the data what I am having, but definitely you can name it based on your choice. Homelessness, because this data is about homelessness and what are the causes and effect of it. So once this is done, next thing is we need to check if the database or the index is not already present, then just go ahead and create it. So for that you can add one check here, if index name not in Pinecone dot list indexes, then go ahead and create one. So create index. Inside this we need to pass few parameters. So the first one is index name, then dimension is 1536. This you can check it on the OpenAI documentation as well. And the metric you can use dot product or cosine. I am going with the cosine here. So there is an extra bracket. Okay. So once this part is done, we are good with our setup. Let me go ahead and quickly create an object, because this object we will be needing for working with this Pinecone. Okay, so let's execute this. Hope there are no more errors. Okay, now we have got this thing. Next thing is we need to upsert this entire thing into our Pinecone database. So for that I have already written some lines of code. Let me quickly grab that. Okay, so what we are doing here is we are trying to, so this is the code, you can find it on like Pinecone documentation site itself, but I just tweak it a bit based on my requirements. So what I'm trying to do here is, this is for the progress bar which we will be seeing in a while. and then we are creating a bunch of 100. And here what we are doing, this is some simple calculation to grab every single bunch out of that, and we will be taking all the embeddings which are present in our data frame, and here we will be taking all the IDs which are present in our data frame. Once those are there collected, next thing we are going to zip them so that we can create a single record for our insertion. So the single record consists of IDs, embeddings, as well as the data. So data is nothing but it's a combination of file name and the file content. And once this is done, we will be assigning it to vectors and putting upsert. So if you are running this code multiple times, in that case also it will not create any trouble. That's the reason we are using upsert. So let me run it, and you can see this is the small progress bar which is coming over here. Okay. Now, in order to verify whether it is inserted or not, you can quickly call index.describe. So one way to verify is using this, and here you can see that the 8 records are inserted. Okay, so next thing what we are going to do here is we need to take query from the user, and we need to generate the embedding for that particular query. Then we will be taking users embedding of the user's query and match it with the database. So if it's matching, then it will pull up all the relevant documents for us. Okay, so let me quickly write few things here. So first of all, we will be doing take query and generate embedding for it. Then we will be taking output of this first statement, use output of this above statement, and query database. So this will give us like list of docs or text, whatever you call it. And as a third step, what we will be doing here is we will be using output of above step, which is step 2, and create a completion prompt. So this is like a multi-step process. So let me quickly go ahead and do it for you. So, and one note here, although 4 documents were there, but you can see here 8 because in my database 4 records were already there. So I am using the same index which I used earlier. So that's the reason I am seeing here 8 documents. Okay, let me paste some code here which I grabbed it from the OpenAI cookbook itself. What we are doing here is we are trying to construct the prompt. So for constructing the prompt, what we are doing is we are taking the embeddings and we are just passing creating the object out of it. So this is for text ADA, and then we are saying get me the query. So whatever the user query is, let's say user is saying what is the reason of homelessness. So for this query we are generating the embeddings and push it into this. So this is holding the embedding for my query which is passed by the user, and then we are saying for that query index query the database and get me the top 3 matching documents. So it will give you all the top 3 matching documents, and we will be collecting the content of those and setting it as a context. So this is the context which we will be passing it to ChatGPT for getting our answers. So rather than passing all the 8 documents, now we are just saying get me only the top 3 matching ones and pass it as a context. Now we have the context. It means we have the relevant information which we want to use for answering users' questions. So next thing is we just need to construct the prompt. So let me show you how we are doing this. So notepad, I will take it. So in this notepad, I will show you how exactly we are trying to construct. So we are saying to ChatGPT, answer the question based on the below context. And what is the context? This is some text which we grabbed it in this particular statement. This is the text which we received from our Pinecone. So we have this, and then we are saying question this thing. So we are saying this, here we are entering some new lines, then we are putting some user question, user will put some question here, and then we are simply saying answer. So this is the prompt which we are passing it to ChatGPT. So let me quickly reiterate this. So we are saying to ChatGPT, answer the question based on the context below, and this is the document or the information from which you need to answer my queries. So then we are supplying the question here and just hitting the enter, so that ChatGPT will type its answer over here. So this is the simple thing which we are doing it over here. And here I think I need to define the limit. Limit is the variable which I created here. So we can say 3097. So this is the limit to which I am saying that do not consider text more than this limit. If we are going beyond this limit, let's not consider that. So let's make it 3750. Okay, so that's the reason here is the check. If it is going beyond limit, then just stop the prompt and no need to consider. Now how to handle this, that we will see in particular probably in my next video, but right now let's stick with this and go ahead. So it is successful. It means we are able to construct our prompt successfully. Next thing is we need to create queries. So now we will just making a call to this above function which we just created. This is the question which user is giving, and we are saying prompt with context. So this is the prompt which we will be sending it to OpenAI to answer our questions. So here let's call this, and I can quickly show you how exactly it is constructed. So this is how it is constructed. Answer the question based on the below, and this is the text which it has retrieved from my text file, and at the end you can see that this is the user question and answer. Oops, so it should be what? Let me run it again. Okay, so once this is done, now we need, the only thing which is remaining is we need to call the completion endpoint and execute this particular query. So that we can do it using OpenAI .completion .create, and inside this we need to first of all pass the engine. So you can use any, let's go with DaVinci 003, and few parameters as usual. So prompt is nothing but the one we just constructed above, so I will just copy it over here, and then we'll have temperature equal to 0. We'll take max tokens equal to 350 for now, and let's take only one matching. So top underscore p equal to 1, and I think we are good with this. Let's run it first. So it is complaining about the model does not, so that's, so this is the response which we have received. So the text is this, the question which we have asked is what are the effects of homelessness, and this is the answer which we have received. So now if you want to extract the exact text, definitely we need to parse it properly and grab it. So if you want to get the text, let me store this output in res, and here itself we can say result, and it is under choices. Here you can see its choices, and first level you will have the text. So for first level we will be saying 0, and then I will say text. Let's run it, and here is your perfect answer. So question is, what are the effects of homelessness? The effects of homelessness include death, reduced life expectancy, increased risk of serious healthcare. So all these things are coming directly from those files. So this is how you can utilize Pinecone to retrieve your indexes based on the search query. And the best benefit about this is that you need not to pass your entire data to OpenAI to get your answers. Rather, you can just pass short data, only the context part, so that you can save some cost by reducing your token size. So I hope you enjoyed watching this video, and thanks for watching.